Call to order the Common Council meeting for November 17th. We'll do invocation and pledge, please. Is Bobby here?
Let us pray. Father, thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. We pray that you would be with our meeting. Pray that you would be with our employees that are working tonight. Keep them safe. Pray that you'd be with our mayor and the department heads as they help run our city. Pray that you continue to bless Jeffersonville and the things that we're doing. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Nate. Roll call, please.
Councilperson Sestavny.
Here.
Councilperson Payne.
Here.
Councilperson Sellers. Here. Council Vice President Gill. Here. Council President Julius.
Here.
Councilperson Glover.
Here.
Councilperson Owen.
Here.
Councilperson Samuel.
Here.
Let the record reflect 8 councilpersons present, Councilperson Smith absent.
Thank you. Minutes to be approved from November 3rd meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I'll be abstaining due to an absence.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Approval of the agenda, and I've got a few items that need to be taken off. Thank you. First one is Jim Epperson. It's under new business number 3. Jim Epperson from Clark Floyd Convention Tourism. He would rather be put on at the next meeting, so I'd ask for him to be taken off. 6A and 6B, or 6 and 6A, is a public hearing for a zoning change for a tract of land on Utica Pike. And I talked to Shane Corbin today. We'd like to have that pulled off. I think it's going back to planning and zoning. Number 7, Kelly Phillips for Flow International Corporation. She asked that that be taken off.
Motion to approve with changes.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Claims to be approved.
I did have one hand-carried claim. I had sent an email out on Friday. It was for a fire truck lease payment of $138,321.79. That brings the total to $819,197.26.
You didn't have an insurance thing that needed to be paid? I thought you did.
No.
It's an additional.
I wasn't here to look at claims last week because I was where it was sunny. Sorry about the snow.
Yeah, I bet you are.
You brought it.
The weekend claims, I think all that's been taken care of. I know Lisa looked at it briefly. The only thing is, I'm going to make a motion that we don't pay that until he signs a uniform. Mr. Lovin has to sign the conflict of interest disclosure statement, which is the Indiana Code 35-44-1-3, so he cannot be paid on that until, I think the Board of Public Works has to vote on that Wednesday, and then I'm going to make a recommendation that he can be paid as soon as that's signed.
So,
And I did go through all those claims, and he did everything that we asked for him to do. I was very pleased with what he produced.
so we want a motion to approve pending that agreement?
The signing of that.
You're going to leave it
disclosure
in the
statement.
claims. You're
Leave it
just
in the
gonna-
claims, but he needs to sign that. It has to be voted on by the Board of Public Works.
And I did come in and went over all the claims, and I did have a discussion with Les Merkley. I'm going to go ahead and leave it in, and it's in the advertisement budget. He's going to send me some things, correct, Les Merkley? Just say yes.
Shake your head yes.
Okay. So then I'll be fine with that, so I'll make a motion to approve with her contingency.
Second.
I'm going to abstain. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Report of the clerk.
None at this time.
Thank you. Okay, we've got unfinished business. Amy Deering, 2014 OR 56, an ordinance transferring funds within the same department.
Yes, this was approved on first and second reading at the last meeting, but I need to ask for approval as amended because there's some new items on here for the final reading. The first two items were the only two presented prior. All the park items are new. They basically just had some needs and some supply and utility lines. And that last item was for some new vehicles.
How many vehicles? Is that what we talked about previously?
I think it was, and Paul had gone out and got quotes, but I'm not sure exactly how many vehicles that is for.
Ed, since you're president of the parks, were you aware of this to come out of the land fund? Are you okay with all of these?
I'm okay with it.
Motion to approve 2014 OR 56 on the final reading.
Second. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Thank you.
Is Rob here? Is Kelly going to? Okay, Kelly. We've got a public hearing on a resolution for waiver of non-compliance for Idemitsu lubricants.
Hi. I have Kathleen Crowley from One Southern Indiana and Tammy Waltz with Idemitsu here with me tonight. Basically what we're asking for is a one-year extension for their CF1 filing for the completion of the project that they came and presented in 2011. And they've been working towards that goal, but they would like one more year to reach that goal. And Tammy, if you want to come up here, and Kathleen, and explain the ins and outs of that. I know you all have a short description of it too in your packet.
Good evening. Kathleen Crawley, One Southern Indiana.
Tammy Waltz, Idemitsu Lubricants America.
In 2011, we came forward with a project for Idemitsu, and at that time, we expected to have the project completed by December of 2014. We always work with a client and ask them if they think that they're going to fall short of what they've estimated to let us know so that we can take proper precautions and take the time to advise you all. Kelly and I have been working with them for several months now trying to work towards these goals, and tonight we come and request an extension for 1 year on the personal property portion of it. They have already realized the expansion at the company, and in fact they have gone over their numbers for the expansion amount. They have also gone over the new hire amount. So we have a project that's coming in higher than estimated, but we need just a little more time to realize the personal property portion of, which will also come in at higher numbers. Do you want to talk to that, Tammy?
What's resolution number? 21. Make a motion we pass resolution 2014 R21.
Second.
And I had one further request. I don't know if you all have to take a motion on this, but the CF1 form inadvertently left off $192,000 under the IT equipment portion of investment. It was on the original abatement that was approved in 2011. It wasn't on the form tonight, so just a note of that. I'm sorry? Yes.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Thank you all very, very much.
Thank you.
Council President, there is a signature page back here.
Okay.
I'm gonna put right there.
Wonderful. Thank you. Jeff Fry, President of the Fire Merit Board. He's going to present the 2014 Certified Promotional List.
I think you all have a copy of this. It's the certified promotional list. It's for 2 years. It's pretty straightforward. We have very good candidates. The testing went well, the written test and the interview testing all went well. We've got a good group that are ready to move up as it happens. The other thing I would like to say is Drew Adams will be leaving us, and we've signed on Nathan Masingo as our new attorney. That was through our board, so he's been working with Drew, so he knows what we've been going through. So he'll be our new attorney, and also we're going to be losing Lynn Ackerman. He's resigning, and that's a union representative. So we've had one person that the union brought to the last meeting. It's up to them to decide who's going to be that person, but so we're going to be having a new lawyer and one new member on the board. So
Scott, do we just need a motion to approve this list?
yeah, you've got a 2-year list already for new hires, and you're going to have a 2-year list for promotion.
I think actually, you don't necessarily approve the list, you're just
Accepting it?
Accepting it.
accepting receipt of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Through the statutes. Accepting receipt.
So moved.
Second.
A further comment. Does this list, does it coincide with the new contract?
There's going to be a problem.
It kind of looked like there might be a problem. So,
This is based on the written, the tactical, and the oral interviews.
because in the contract, if I remember correctly, we specifically stated how many rank there would be.
We're not, as far as the contract goes, we don't have anything to do with that.
Okay.
I think there's going to be problems down the road.
Scott, would the contract supersede this list, or?
I think it would, I've not seen the list.
It sounds like to me that we're just certifying these people that would be able to fill these positions.
Correct.
When they become available.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted some clarity on that, because we really went to great lengths on the contract to specify how many per rank.
And we've had new positions made that were never there and were never dealt with in the contract that are going to become a problem.
Would those positions be able to get paid if they're not in the contract? I guess, Scott, I'm asking you. I mean, if they create positions and they're not in the contract.
Yeah, I don't think they can create certain positions that are not.
We don't.
Contract, yeah.
It's the online fire marshal. That's going to be the.
We talked about this out of negotiations, the contract provisions control.
But our job was to take everybody that wanted to be promoted and rank them based on what they've done as far as their certifications and their experience, how they tested, how they did in the tacticals, and then get a list
I
of the
understand.
people that want it. But if that's,
Just a line of success.
I think there's going to be problems down the line, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Serve a vote.
I don't, he said we didn't really need.
I make a motion to accept it.
Okay.
There's a motion and a second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
And Nathan, okay for
Fine, man.
our attorney?
Fine name.
Okay.
Absolutely.
He'll fill out the paperwork for him, so.
Thank you for all you do, by the way.
Yes.
Appreciate
Yes,
it.
thank you.
Number 4, Matt Owen, 2014, I don't know what the ordinance number will be. An ordinance abolishing the Jeffersonville City Court.
Do an ordinance number.
Yes, 57.
57. This is an ordinance that was written several months ago, if not a year ago. It's been a topic of discussion amongst a few of us for a while. And Indiana code states that if this is the route we're going to go, we have to have this taken care of before the end of the year. So that being said, I thought it was prudent that we go ahead and have this discussion, bring the legislation forward so we as a council can discuss and decide what we're going to do, make a decision. I think you've all been provided with some numbers as to where we're coming from with this ordinance. And do we have those that we can put on the screen? Basically, the numbers that are in front of you will show from 2012 to 2014, or 12, 13, and 14, the number of court cases, ordinance violations, and infraction violations that have come through city court, and showed the the collections on the city and collections on the probation user fees through the city court over the 3 years. And then also we have our projected cost of the court from the last 3 years plus projected what's budgeted in 2015. Oh, I lied. You don't have the cost up here. Cost for 2012 of the city court was about $306,563. That's gone up and is projected to hit $437,000 and some change for 2014. We've budgeted $439,000 for next year for city court, which is an increase of about 70% over the 3 years. If you look at the number of court cases going back to 2012, 1,450 court cases down to 475 this year as of, what was that date? Do we know?
The 475, Vicki, do you know?
Was that in August or October?
It's October.
October 31st.
Oh, it was October 31st, okay. That's a drop of 32%. So basically what the point being, caseload has come down, costs have gone up. We need to be looking at saving money on the city's end in the general budget. I know there are several opinions of what closing the court could mean, but I think it's important to realize that not all the cases that come through city court are Jeffersonville cases. It's a Jeffersonville City Court, but unless I'm mistaken, any misdemeanor case from the county, anywhere in the county, can come through city court. So basically, the entire county has the ability to come and utilize the service that Jeffersonville taxpayers are paying for, unless I'm off there. That's the case, right? I thought that's right. Right. I've seen on a state level, the state Supreme Court has kind of said that city courts are becoming obsolete. It's a lower functioning court, can't hear felony cases, can't hear appeals cases, all of which can be heard on the county level, plus what we hear here. I think that when you look at everything on paper, black and white, for me, it's a simple vote that this is not a service that the Jeffersonville City taxpayer should be sustaining. I don't see the value here, and maybe there are others that can.
The only thing that I would like to say, Matt, is, for instance, on your 2012 number, the 306,563, if you look on the board, city collections of 8359 need to come out of that number.
Okay.
And
right. I'm sorry. That's not a net cost.
That's right. And on your 455,862, the 52,492 need to come out, and the same thing as the 24,233.
Those were not net costs. I'm sorry. Right. That's just cost before what was brought in.
I would just make a comment that, you know, we're looking at it from, one of the lenses we're looking at it through is, you know, the revenue versus expenses. And the other piece, another lens that I think we need to make sure and look through is the value added, what it brings to the city or to the residents. And I tried to connect with the police chief today to find out what benefit the court does for our police department. Does it expedite warrants maybe? Does it, well, I don't know what all it might do, but what benefit is it to the police department to hear their voice? I've not heard back yet from the chief. I've also concerned about what it will do to the county level. I know that's not our responsibility, the county, but they already are overcrowded. And I've spoken with a couple of the judges there, and they acknowledge that it is already overcrowded. There is movement to get a magistrate, and I've talked to 2 legislators, and they indicated they're supportive of trying to get a magistrate, and they think that probably will happen for the county, not the city, for the county. So that's a good thing, and that would be paid for by state dollars, not local dollars. So that's a very positive thing. And also learned that Clarksville, their city court, approximately cost their town $5,000. So
who's this? I'm sorry.
Clarksville. So I don't know if our numbers are correct or what the difference is. I know the number of cases have dropped, as that was pointed out, but those are just some additional comments that I would throw out. I think for me personally, I still want to get feedback from the chief and from a couple people locally to see what value added services it does provide that we may not be aware of. But I just want to mention those comments.
Sure. And I would like to add also that and this is not uncommon. This is going on across the state. Sellersburg did away with their town court. The city of Charlestown did away with their city court. This is a trend that's going on across the state. Also, you know, if we pass this before the end of the year, that does not immediately end city court. City court will remain through the end of Judge Pierce's term and then disband at the end of 2015. But Indiana code requires that we do it this year, not next year.
The other thing is,
Cases? Is that this year?
And Nathan, I know what you brought up Clarksville, and it only cost them $5,000. I really would like to see what the difference is. I mean, that's a huge difference than the numbers we're talking about.
Right.
12 to 13.
Because we're talking about all the employees, health benefits, everything that our taxpayers pay out is over $400,000, minus the $24,000 that was brought in.
I was intrigued as well. But I didn't have a chance to drill down today.
Do we need to put this up? We got, I think you all have it in front of you, that we got from Steve Stewart, the prosecutor. I know Dennis
that
and
page.
some other ones met with the prosecutor, and he provided us with the numbers. Just from 2013 to 14, the Jeffersonville Court went down 38% in their cases filed, and Clarksville Town, they went up 8%. Are my numbers right? And there's approximately 386 more cases filed in Clarksville
Than Jeff.
than Jeff.
Last
And that came from Steve Stewart just last week.
Right.
We ready to go to some public comments?
Are we,
Do we need to have a motion?
Well, we need public comment.
no, usually, we need public
Okay.
comment, but, I mean, I know the judge is here and obviously he wants to speak. Are we not?
He's on here.
Okay. So you're only gonna we're gonna give him more than 3 minutes to talk, aren't we?
No, that's fine. What I was gonna do is take Ken last, the
Oh,
judge
okay.
last.
All right.
If that's okay, Judge?
We're gonna-
That's fine. I mean, there was a couple of people who wanted to speak, and
Uh,
I figured due to time restraints, I figured if we let them go first and I try and fill in any holes, I think that'd be perfect.
I was gonna let you go last, if that's okay.
Well,
Connie Minnis, I think it's Minnisey?
It's Minique, but that's okay.
Okay, sorry about that.
That's okay.
And what we do is we try and keep this to 3 minutes.
Right. I apologize if I knew this was the issue that was going to be on the court. I would have got on the agenda. My name is Connie Minick. I'm the Executive Director of the Clark County Youth Coalition. We are recognized as the state as the local coordinating council for the Governor's Commission for a Drug-Free Indiana. And I'm here to present to you the collections by court, including in Jefferson City Court, as well as allocations. Like I said, if I'd known this was going to be on the agenda, I would have got on the agenda versus getting 3 minutes. The Clark County Youth Coalition, our basic function is all 92 counties in the state have a local coordinating council for the Governor's Commission for Drug-Free Indiana. We're responsible to write the comprehensive plan to address substance abuse for Clark County, as well as to track and oversee the allocations of the Drug-Free Community Fund. And one of the things that I gave to you is a copy of the receipts by court from 2006. If you'll look at Jeff City Court, Clarksville Town, Charlestown, clerk's charges are all the drug and alcohol cases that go before and that are collected in the city-county building. Because one of the things when we talk about courts is the way the Indiana Code, and if I'm incorrect, I'm sure Scott will be happy to correct if I'm misquoting the law. Indiana Code is when somebody is convicted of a drug or alcohol crime, they're supposed to pay a countermeasure fee, and those funds stay into the county. 75% stays into the county in which that crime was committed. 25% goes to the state. Those 75% of those funds that are collected are reallocated back into the community in 4 different areas. 25% is for the operating expenses for the local coordinating council, which is the Clark County Youth Coalition. 25% goes to prevention education. That's anywhere from the DARE program that the Jeffersonville Police Department has, as well as other prevention programs in the community, drug and alcohol prevention. 25% goes to treatment intervention programs all throughout the county, and then 25% goes back to law enforcement and justice. And so what you have are 2 documents. One is a printout of the drug-free community collections by court from 2006 through 2013. We haven't done our 2014 numbers yet. You will notice the trend that Jeff City Court has the highest amount of collections, and that is due to a couple things. One is we're seeing a lot of the drug and alcohol cases. When you talk about the report from Steve Stewart and other courts, I know there's discretion. I don't know who makes that decision, but I've been told there's discretion of what court cases get assigned to different courts, whether it's conservation cases or state police and different things. So know that in the past, and as always, we've seen the highest collections be collected by Jeff City Court. as well as how much money that we have to allocate. So when we look at collections and we look at a court, I know that you guys are looking at the numbers, how much it costs to the court. Well, I also want you to make sure you have all the data and information, because when we take away a court, I know the argument's been made, well, those court cases go elsewhere. Well, I can tell you that let's just focus on 2013. Let's just pick a year, the last full year that I have. We collected $87,000 in Jeff City Court, Clarksville Town 21, and you would think that since the city county building has the largest courts and amounts that they would have the largest collections. We tend to have had a problem with there. I've spent numerous hours doing research to say where's the disconnect. I know the prosecutor's office is putting it on the pleas, but when it comes to collections, where's that money going? I know last year alone, myself and Jeremy Mull's office, we found like $30,000 that was accredited to the wrong account. We know that Jeff City Court, we've had a working relationship no matter what judge has been here, and we've had the highest collections in the clerk's office, and we've done a great job of collecting that money. So I just want you to be aware of how much is collected in that court, as well as this other nice 6 or 7 page sheet you can look at your leisure, because it is the most current breakdown of allocations in our community. So when we talk about total collections for Clark County, we're talking about we have anywhere from $175,000 to $200,000 to reallocate back into the community. And if you look at the collections, Jeff City Court has always and has been responsible for collecting the most of that money. So when we talk about how much money we fund per category, it just gives you a breakdown of what agency we fund, as well as what program it went for. How much is requested is always a lot more than we have to allocate, because the need in the community is larger than that we have the funding available. So when you're talking about courts and collections and the pluses and minuses, I just wanted to make sure that you're aware of all this information as well.
Thank you. Kevin Bissing.
Hello, I'm Kevin Bissing. I'm on the Clark County Council. I'm not here on behalf of the council, just really for myself. I've been paying close attention to what's going on with the city court, and I'm concerned about that for the counties. The county, as you know, is in bad financial shape, and this is just going to put more pressure on us. Courts are never meant to be a profit maker, and I kind of feel like Jeffersonville's looking at maybe in that aspect. Clark County, it costs Clark County millions of dollars to run their courts, and if this gets dumped on us, Joe Weber's going to be overwhelmed. As Nathan said, the judge and magistrate would be covered by the state, but you still have to have a office staff that has to be covered by the county taxpayers. And don't forget this, if we have to mandate more because we come into a larger hole financially, it gets passed on to all the taxpayers of Clark County as well as the circuit breaker for you all. So ultimately, you all will be paying for it in the long run through the circuit breaker, so don't forget that. Thank you.
Brad Jacobs.
I'll try to be fast, guys. We're talking about money and efficiency seem to be the main issues here. I totally get that. And I'm not here to persuade you, but you guys are reading the paperwork that you're seeing. I'm going to give you a boots on the ground type of perspective. The money, although it appears Ken Pierce is single-handedly responsible for cutting 1,000 criminal cases a year, that doesn't happen. Those cases are being filed everywhere or somewhere else. So they may not be showing up on this document, but those people are standing somewhere in line waiting to be dealt with. The problem with that is if they're charged with a criminal infraction or criminal violation in Clark Circuit 3, there's no money coming through Jeff City Court. And that's not Ken's fault. That's the prosecutors decided to file it wherever they want to. The other problem is if those infractions are being filed as state infractions, then the money goes to Indianapolis to be dispersed wherever it goes. If they're filed as ordinance violations, that money stays in Jeffersonville City. And now as a resident of Jeffersonville and Whispering Oaks, that money comes to our communities. So I saw up there the officers were writing 400 local ordinance violations in 2012, and for some reason they stopped doing that. You can't tell people aren't speeding. People aren't still running stop signs. So for some reason, those are being filed as infractions instead of ordinance violations. There's a huge treasure trove of potential income for the city. We worked hard to get infraction diversion or deferral through Jeff City, and it's a great program because that money, even more of it, stays local. Now if the city's gone, if the city court's gone, that money's gone. But everybody, all these officers who are writing state infractions instead of local ordinance violations are just throwing away the money. They're giving it to the county, who gives it to the state, and it's not coming back to us. As a segue between money and speed, talk about marijuana. We basically decriminalized marijuana last year. The Indiana legislature made all marijuana charges, unless you're shooting at somebody, it's going to be a misdemeanor, which that makes all those cases available for Jeff City Court. So whereas you possessed 31 grams last year, it's a D felony. Now that's a misdemeanor. You possess 121 grams, that's an A misdemeanor. All those cases, that could potentially pour into Jeff City Court, which is more puff fees, more court costs. More importantly, a lot of the first offense marijuana charges, a good criminal defense attorney is getting you diversion or deferral. That can be more money pumped into Jeffersonville City Court. That's a huge opportunity that we're going to be missing out on. The last part is efficiency. People have asked me, wouldn't it be easier for your cases to all be in the same place, in the same building? And it wouldn't be. I can tell you right now that a misdemeanor case that goes through Clark Circuit 3 takes me anywhere from 3 months on the fast side to 9 months to a year to finish up. That's a lot of wasted time. That's a lot of wasted resources. That's my clients missing work. Whereas I come to Jeff City Court for an initial hearing January 1st, we get a plea date set for late February. And in the meantime, I'm going to work that case out with Carl Frazier as quickly as possible. So we're wrapping up cases in 6 to 8 weeks instead of 6 to 8 months. So as far as efficiency, it would seem it'd be smarter to have all your cases in one building. It's so much easier to come in, get a date you know is going to be here, get a prosecutor you know you can catch him, and get out. It's a lot more efficient to be here. It doesn't make sense, but you have to trust me on that. As the incoming judge for 2, it's going to be a nightmare if we don't have this option for our misdemeanors. It was 4 something last year that were here, but it should be a lot higher than that. All those cases come into Circuit 3. Anytime you get a new judge in, you know that a good defense attorney is going to file a CR4 motion. For those of you who don't know legal terms, you have to be tried within usually it's a year. It's a speedy trial request. The time's a year unless there are exceptions. If you don't get a case tried within a year, it gets dismissed. So this misdemeanor marijuana case that's now going to come in and clog up the courts may cause an A felony, dealing, assault, potentially a murder case. Because of the congestion, this misdemeanor case now that is clogging up the circuit courts could cause a major felony case to get dismissed. And that's going to happen. We already know January to February we're going to have 100 CR4 motions on our desk. All the judges are. That's what happens every time you get a new judge. And a bunch of those are going to be granted. It would be a shame because we're cutting the budget here to have something. It seems like they're misdemeanors. We don't care about that. Not as important. But that misdemeanor over there could cause us to lose an A felony case. It's just something else to keep in mind. Thank you.
Thanks. Judge Pierce.
Evening, members of the council. Thanks for having me. I want to congratulate newly elected Judge Jacobs and Recorder Payne and Commissioner Glover there. Congratulations, guys. My first request, actually, is I would ask that we table this issue. I learned about this on Friday afternoon, around, let's say around 3:30, when this young reporter to my left here called me and asked me about you all closing the city court. I told her I hadn't heard anything about it and that I would, I'd be glad to talk to her, but I want to get some of my numbers together. It being that late, I knew I couldn't get a hold of Miss Deering that day, and so I subsequently called this morning, I think at 8 or 8:30, and then again at like 10:30 or so, and was told that she's out all day. So I've not been able to actually accumulate any numbers and really look through all these figures, to be honest with you. So I would first ask that we table this issue so I can have some more time to do that. And I will then proceed to the non-reverting fund issue. This discussion has been about money. On September 25th, I was here before you guys discussing budget issues. I addressed the non-reverting fund. on September 26th, I emailed each member of the council and also Mr. Lewis a copy of the non-reverting fund. I'm now passing out a copy of that as well. The non-reverting fund is similar to the PUD fund, but somewhat different. It does allow me to spend money through a different fund to assist and take some of the pressure off of the general fund. Once again, I mailed that to everyone on September 26th and had not heard back and was wondering if anyone had reviewed it and thought perhaps that may be an option rather than closing the court. I understand you may not have read that, so I'll hand that out. There's a quick copy of it for everyone in the back audience. And like I said, I know that I've had plenty of discussions here about the PUF funds. I understand we agree to disagree on that issue. But like, I did bring this up at that last meeting and wanted to make sure everyone was aware of that. One other thing, and Mr. Owen, I believe you brought up that we get cases from outside of Jeffersonville. And Mr. Lewis, I believe, agreed with that. With all due respect, that's no longer true. Okay? There's what's called a case allocation plan. In 2012, that was exactly correct. We got cases from all over the county, which really didn't bother me because from those cases, as you can see, when cases go up, revenue goes up. So I was fine. I'd take cases from anywhere in the whole county they wanted to give me. That all stopped in 2012. Abruptly, in late 2012 and early 2013, the state police department quit filing cases in this court. And I don't know how that happened because it's actually, you're right, it's a prosecutor's decision, but they weren't being booked into the sheriff's office. When the state troopers were putting them in there, they weren't being booked into this court. I can't explain it, I can't control it. So the judges got together and we created what's called the case allocation plan, which then made sure that if it's in Jeff, you're coming to Jeff. Previously, when Judge Weber and Judge Carmichael were involved here, Judge Carmichael took all the marijuana and alcohol, and Judge Weber took all the thefts and conversions and so forth. We changed that up, and so now any crime misdemeanor occurring in Jeff comes to Jeff. And I believe Prosecutor Stewart just sent out a memo to that effect. I'm going to say it was in October. One of the problems we were having, and the case allocation plan did go into effect January 1st of 2014. What I'm going to hand you all now, because I know the concern is, well, why haven't the case numbers gone back up? What I did is, my staff and I went through a cross-section of just a couple days in September, and I know you're wondering why I was so late, and I can't say anything, but it took me a while to figure out what was going on. I looked around and tried to figure out all my cases were down, and I finally discovered that this was going on. I'm handing you 7 different dates of people that were released from Jeff City, released from the jail, I apologize, to appear in Jeff City Court on their charges. There you go. Now, of these 7 days, there are confirmed 26 cases that were not filed in Jeff City Court. Battery, criminal conversion, battery, leaving the scene of an accident, OWI, OWI, the OWI. And OWI are cases, those are the cases that actually do generate the most revenue for this court. So once I realized this, that's 26 cases over 7 different court dates. We can all do the math on that. That's an extra 400 to 500 cases, if you extrapolate it, that this court should be receiving. Okay? That's a large number. That's a substantial amount of revenue.
And what happened to these cases?
They were misfiled. I called newly elected prosecutor Mull, and I admit I was a little impatient. So once I didn't hear from him, I went and called Steve Stewart. And that was back, Mr. Mull was the chief deputy at the time. I'm sure he was dealing with that murder trial. By the time he got back to me, I'd already spoken with Steve Stewart, and Steve Stewart then submitted a memo to all the prosecutors and said, look, any case arising out of Jeffersonville city limits comes to Jeff City Court. And we've already started to see a little increase in those case numbers, okay? And I'm guessing it'll increase greatly. I've already had contact with Mr. Mull, and he indicated to me not only, you can check with him yourself, not only that he doesn't like the idea of 1,000 extra cases coming to the county at all, because he thinks they're already overpopulated case-wise there, but that he's going to follow a case allocation plan. So I would suspect that these numbers would definitely increase. Once again, I cannot explain that, but once I figured it out, I went and I said something to Prosecutor Stewart, so I would expect these numbers to increase greatly. Now, one other issue I'm having, and I don't know how to explain this one either, is I did have a meeting with Councilperson Julius, Councilperson Glover, and Councilperson Samuel on this issue. Councilperson Sestabny was away enjoying himself far more than would have been to attend that meeting, I'm sure. But at that meeting, I was handed this sheet here. Let's see. And that gave me prospective costs of the court. Now, you'll see that those costs include not just, when you look under the number, the fund number is 101004 is the court, and 042 is the clerk's office, who assists the court, or not say assists, but definitely has court-related duties. Also, there's some numbers there that have XXXXXX. They're referring to insurance. That's a number I have no way or ability, and probably not even the intelligence to figure out how much insurance costs are. However, I'm guessing that insurance in the city costs about $17,000 an employee. Now, with regard to Clarksville, I think they're self-insured, so I don't know what their actual cost per employee is, but I'll get to Clarksville in a minute. One concern I have there, and once again, no disrespect to Ms. Deering, but I was unable to actually confirm all these numbers myself today. One concern that I see here is I'm being, I guess, attributed. I'm having a cost attributed to the court for 101042411.137. It's a court clerk / accountant, or I'm not sure exactly what that is. What I've put on the overhead now, I hope it's visible, on the same line right here, those numbers are completely off. It shows that in 2014 and 15, that was budgeted at $26,000, and the actual expenditures were $3,692 in 2014, and not even in the budget for the following year, for next year. So just on that discovery, I suspect that I would want to do some more investigation as to these numbers, because that one employee right there at $26,000 plus $17,000 for the insurance, that's $43,000 that we're suddenly attributing to the court that, just by my investigation, doesn't seem to even exist. I don't know how that number got added in there, but certainly I want to investigate it. I could certainly be wrong because this is not my job, but that looks to be something that should be investigated.
That was an error through finance on the naming of our employees.
But I thought we dealt with that.
We did dealt with it.
I thought we did, okay.
So what is it?
I've asked repeatedly that this here court clerk accountant is actually the deputy clerk. And that was supposed to have been reflected.
Is the amount right? Or do we know?
No, because that amount was what was being paid to Patty.
Different employee.
This is what was the next, what you see at the projected for 2015 is for replacement of that person. So
But-
no, these are not correct.
The numbers are not correct?
The numbers, the titles and the numbers are not correct.
But I thought we did correct those during your budget workshop, and we also met in a finance committee meeting over all this. Okay.
I'm not making any accusations. This is what I was handed by Mr. Councilperson Julius, and this is all I've had to work with because I couldn't get a hold of Ms. Deering today. Yeah. We've had our issues, but this time I'm being honest. I'm not attacking at all. So just telling y'all.
That's come up is what we were saying.
Right. So that's one of my concerns, and obviously, if we're having a low case number, then and obviously the ordinance violations are down, then I don't know that there's a necessity for a traffic clerk. Perhaps that's something that's not necessary as well. That's another $31,000 plus $17,000 that can come off. So we've already addressed $90-something thousand.
Now, wait a minute. I did talk to traffic clerk today, and that's not the only thing that she's doing at this point.
Then I would respectfully ask why that's being attributed to the court. That whole amount is my concern.
It's all court-related duties, and she instructed me that she was taking in not only traffic violations, but she was taking in and handling most of the money that comes through the court.
I understand that completely, but
So, I mean, you
if
can't
there's
eliminate
that much work for two people and it's been condensed down to this much, I don't know if one can do it all or not. I don't know, but I think it's worth exploring rather than closing a court and then making it necessary to get rid of all three employees. One employee is better than all three being gone. And actually, I say all three, but the one's not even there in the first place. So rather than two employees, if we can keep the court and make it one rather than none, I think that's still a win for everyone, because I'm going to show you why it's good for the community here in a second. Now, the one thing I wanted to, and by the way, I want to thank everyone that appeared here in support of the court. I truly appreciate it. And once again, I didn't have much time to finagle people, and Mother Nature didn't really want to cooperate with me today either. But since these figures have already been presented, I am going to show them just up here. It shows where the court was in 2006. It shows where the court only contributed $65,000. And then in 2007, it was $41,000. And then in 2008, that's my first year, I made it a point to make more contribution for that, and I've made sure I collected that. And you can see it's increased every year since then. And I know Ms. Minnick didn't have much time to talk about those things, but these are programs that if it wasn't for the court producing that money and providing that money, you guys would have people out here with their hands out. The Jeff Public Library would want money. The DARE program would want money. The Bliss House would want money. Child Place would want money. These are places that are necessary services. Clearly they exist here and people support them. These are places that receive money as a result of the work the court does. Now, it doesn't save you general fund. It doesn't go back into your general fund per se, but it certainly saves money out of your general fund for discretionary spending for causes. So in a sense, to me, it's more of a supplement to the general fund because it's money over here that's going good places that's not going to have to enter y'all's budget. In response to caseloads, for starters, there are still 67 city and town courts in the state of Indiana, and it's only been decreased since I've been judge. I think we've decreased it by maybe 5 or 6. 2 of them were here. Majority of city and town courts are in, I'm not going to say metropolitan areas, but certainly larger populated areas. Gary, Indianapolis, Jeffersonville, I think Evansville has some. Any of those areas, because the goal of the city court is usually they can dispense the cases more efficiently. I'm in court 6 hours a week. Everybody knows that. And I've managed it for a while. I was going through 1,400 cases a year at that pace. This here is a printout of the courts, or I'm sorry, the counties in the state of Indiana. Shows you the number of judges they have, the number of appointments for judicial officers, which are magistrates essentially, and then limited jurisdiction courts, which court is. Now, I'm not going to cause everybody to go through all these, but you can see that, say, Allen County, for instance, has approximately double the cases of Clark, maybe a little more than that, and they have 24 judicial officers. We have 8. So we have 1/3 the judges and right at 1/2 the cases, maybe a little less than that. You can go down this list and see all these courts here. Hamilton County has 13 judicial officers, 48,000 cases. Johnson County, right with us, right there. We have, I mean, you can go on the list here, 53,000, they've got 14 officers, judicial officers. There's a lot of those here. And of course we catch a lot of cases because we're near Louisville. Marion, we don't even want to talk about that one. St. Joseph County, they have 63,000 cases, which is right at double us. Okay? They've got 18 judicial officers. Now, what do these other counties matter? Well, I'm using it as an example, obviously. The big issue is, I read somewhere, I couldn't find it, guys. Like I said, I'm trying to get the information as fast as I can. Somewhere I was told or read that we're one of the most dangerous cities in the whole state of Indiana. Okay? Well, and I got a 9-month-old daughter back there that I'm not too happy about that. The Jeff City Court judge has to live in the city of Jeffersonville. Okay? I have officers back here supporting me. I have detectives. They all have my cell phone number. My third date with my wife actually was, we went to Impella's area school U of L game, and I had 2 of the Jeff City detectives come over so I could sign a search warrant for them. Okay? Now, do these officers really want to go to Sellersburg, to Charlestown, or to find these other people? Judge Carmichael and I are the only 2 that live in downtown Jeffersonville. Okay? I'm available for these officers constantly. I've signed 4 warrants this week in the past 7 days. Not this week. It's just Monday. In the past 7 days, I've signed 4 search warrants. Okay? So, I mean, this is something that's an accessibility issue. It's a safety issue. Okay? When we have home invasions, when we have drug trafficking, when we have sexual assault, okay, sometimes time is of the essence for these search warrants. Sometimes evidence is being damaged as we speak. They call Judge Pierce. Okay? They come to my house. They know my dog's name. All right? They know where to sit while I read the warrant so they don't look at me or talk to me when I'm reading the warrant. I mean, this is what we do. All right? And these are things that no one else knows we do. Everyone knows I have this Lunch with Judge Pierce program for middle school kids to try and encourage them not to commit crimes, to try and encourage them to stay in school. Okay? These are outreach functions that this court can serve. No, it's not required. But why get rid of it when you can? I mean, this is a second-class city. We have a third branch of government here that costs approximately 1% of the total budget. We have a judge here that's willing to sit there and let these officers come to his house at 2 in the morning. Okay? That's something that we need to preserve. We have a murder 4 blocks from the county courthouse. Okay? There's a lot of blame game going on why that guy got out. Let's be honest. Court's crowded. People fall through the cracks. Do we want to throw more misdemeanors in there and create more cracks so these felony offenders can come out there and go into our homes? I mean, it's a public safety issue. These misdemeanors stay here. They get dealt with here. If they keep committing crimes, they go to see the big judges. Everybody knows I don't mind being called little judge. It's fine. My staff calls the judicial conference for me. They call it judge camp. So be it. I get cases out of their way so they can handle the bad guys. All right? Guys that come in here, we have OWIs, public intoxication, possession of marijuana, first-time offenders typically. If they want to keep committing crimes, I have no problem sending them up the street there. But the crimes that occur in this court certainly create the path for the judges there to handle the big, important cases. Okay? They're not sitting there interfering with their docket. I just think it's huge. I called Judge Carmichael today. Yesterday. I said, Judge, have you talked to any of the council members? Have they even called you? She said she's heard from 1. Okay? I've talked to several of you, but there's at least 3 or 4 people on this council that haven't even talked to me. Of the last 15 years that this court has existed, Judge Carmichael and I served for 14 of those. I mean, if we're going to close a court that's been open for, 54 years, since 1960. I believe, maybe someone in your family had a hand in that, didn't they, Mr. Vissing? Yep. Maybe so? Yep. So, if we have a court that's existed that long, I mean, are we going to get rid of it over 1 bad year, which clearly I've shown that there are some questionable circumstances over how that occurred. And I've made substantial measures to try and correct them. All right? So, I'm available to talk to any of you at any time you want. If we have a new county court, fine. It takes about 2 or 3 years to get one of those to occur. Talk to Judge Granger in Floyd County. A magistrate court, exactly right. You have to have an extra staff member. But they still have to have, if the crimes are going over there, there's more prosecutors. Okay? There's more staff. There's more time. There's more people going over there to the county building. There's more parking problems over there for the city of Jeff. I mean, this is a perfect opportunity to go ahead and say we're a big city, we're a second-class city, and we're going to behave as one, and we're going to take care of our residents. These are homegrown crimes that we're going to take care of. The officers know how to get them taken care of here. They know where to file them. They know how to find their warrants, and it's just 10 times easier to handle here. Plus, we have the public safety issue that we can address. Let me make sure I kind of got most of everything. I know I've probably passed my 3 minutes, I assume. One question I'm going to leave you with, and I'd love an answer, but I'm going to let it just kind of marinate there, is what cost would make the court reasonable? When I came to see you guys in 2012, I gave you all a document that showed where I actually, through this court with the numbers that we had worked so hard to get, we're actually contributing an extra $55,000 back to the community. I would have thought that everybody had been happy as could be about it, and the next thing I know, cases are vanishing out of this court and so forth. I don't know how it happened. Don't want to get into why I think it happened, but certainly that was a nice little system we had going there. I'd love to get back there. I don't know if we can. Nonetheless, we're sitting here now. What price are we going to pay on the ability of these officers to actually sit there and get a warrant signed for a rape when evidence is vanishing by the second? What price are we going to put on a life that's in downtown Jeff, so some other guy doesn't slip through the cracks. I mean, what price is there? I'm asking you guys and ladies, and just tell me the price, and I'll sit down with y'all and try and work on it, and find a way to get there. You may have any questions for me?
I'd really like to, going back to cost.
Yes, sir.
The Clarksville number still intrigues me. I think I really have to be comfortable with the true cost of the court before you can make a decision. And if we're talking about a couple $1,000s, obviously there's a benefit to the taxpayers of Jeffersonville to keep the court. If it's $500,000, well, that's maybe a different story. But because looking at the cost being shared by the county, but I think it's important to really understand what the true cost is. And I don't know where that number is. Where I would be comfortable saying, no, it's not a benefit for that cost to the taxpayers of Jeffersonville. But I know that's one thing for me I need to be comfortable with before I can make a decision.
Well, like I said when we came to this on the agenda, this is something that has been talked about amongst a few of us for a very long time, and I think it's important. I thought it was important to go ahead and put it on the agenda so that we have meaningful discussion and we are prompted to find those real numbers and make a decision. Because the end of the year is coming, and if we decide that we don't want to take any action, we've got to wait 4 more years for this to come up again. And if Judge Pierce is correct and there's been some misfilings and those numbers will return to where they previously were, that would be great. But we'll take 4 years to find out if that's true or not.
With all due respect, Prosecutor Councilperson Owen, Prosecutor Mull, you didn't sign up for that one, did you? No. Prosecutor Mull, I spoke with him this weekend, and he said that he hadn't heard. He didn't even know it was on the agenda. He said he hadn't heard from anyone. Now maybe someone talked to him. I think I talked to him Sunday morning. So unless someone talked to him in the last 30 hours, then so be it.
Did you say? I'm sorry.
I talked to Prosecutor-elect Jerry Mull, on yesterday morning, and he said he hadn't heard from any of the council members regarding the issue and didn't know it was on the agenda. And so I said, I said, Jeremy, I think that's something you need to know. How do you feel about that?
Talking to Steve Stewart, which is the prosecutor.
I had a meeting with Stewart and Mull was not in the meeting, I suppose because he was in the murder trial.
Okay.
I guess, and I did have him. And I'll tell you, Ken, I have met with as many people as I can possibly meet on this. I mean, I have reached out I have tried to gather as much information on this as I can, and trying to get case numbers, trying to get dollar amounts, and it's very confusing. I will tell you, it is confusing. It's a moving target too. And the other thing that I've been trying to put my hands on, and I can't for some reason, is why this caseload is going down, your caseload. Now, I will tell you that when I went to talk to the prosecutor, and he did run me that figure that spreadsheet that we had on the board, everybody else's case numbers are going up. Everybody. Your case is going down.
That should be telling.
Well, let me just finish.
I'm sorry, I apologize.
My only reason for looking into this is we have to be a fiscally responsible board here. And if there's something that is gaining traction by losing money, we need to find out why. That's our responsibility. And this is a pattern that has continued through 2014. That's my concern, that the case numbers went down from 12 to 13 and 13 to 14. So what I was trying to figure out is why, when your costs are going up, your caseload's going down, and that's concerning to me. And that's something that we, as this board, this council, we have to figure out and justify, and we have to decide if that is going to right itself. And when I have talked to just about everybody about the court members, what their responsibilities are, who they work for, what they do, what their mission is. You and I had about an hour conversation last night, which followed up with me doing a little more research, which I really wanted to do today, but I did. And, you know, if one of the things that you had told me was, if the court, in fact, closes, you felt like a lot of those employees would stay. And that's the insinuation that I got. That
No, I think they all go.
That's
I
what
think
will
Ms.
happen.
Conlon loses well, 2 employees, 3 positions because the one mistake I saw, but 2 employees and I lose all,
That
yeah.
today, that, you know, if the court closes, then the employees don't stay, so that cost does go away. And you know, I mean, I have had conversations about this with more people than I care to discuss about.
With all due respect, though, I mean, even the number that you and I discussed, the paper that I was operating from had that error in there. So, I mean, I think that it deserves a look at it. And the one thing I hadn't discussed with you was the possibility of...
I'm not disagreeing with that.
Okay.
All I'm saying is these are numbers that were given to us by Amy, and we have to rely on these numbers. We have to. I mean, if there's a mistake, you bring it to us, we will definitely research it.
Those numbers were straight out of the ledger. If somebody's title changes something, that's one thing.
Yeah.
I haven't looked at those numbers.
I was not directing anything over here at all. I'm just saying I saw this today, and I was just scrambling the best I could without you being there, because you want to talk about blind. I didn't know what to do. So I was trying the best I could. When I saw that, I thought, well, this is something that needs to be addressed. And like I said, if we start off on these wrong numbers, then that's an issue. And even I don't have the sheet that was up here showing how the cases fell in this court, but that shows you crime hasn't dropped, that some other force. Cases don't just go from 1,300, 1,500 cases a year in this court and then drop off without some other intervention.
I've never said that.
Thank you.
My point was, Judge, that for some reason they're not bringing them to your court.
Well, and I think I've shown, you can see where these numbers are, and I've shown that clearly the state police were not filing cases in my court. I lost about 500 or 600 cases, not just OWIs, but possession of marijuana. When they pull someone over for a suspected OWI, they may find some marijuana. They may find a suspended driver's license. They may even find an underage drinker. I don't know, okay? But all those 500 or 600 cases were gone. Coincidentally, at the same time, I got pulled over 4 times by the state police. So I don't, so I don't know what happened there.
Don't drag the Indiana State Police in a court, city court thing. Just don't do it.
I'm saying there was an issue there, and clearly I got rid of that issue because now we have a case allocation plan.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Well, and I think we insinuated that the court cases were falling, and what that reason was. Maybe it's a personality thing. I can't
It
answer.
certainly could be. I understand that. The issue is now I correct it with a case allocation plan, and then that gets messed up. So I go see Prosecutor Stewart. I've talked to Prosecutor-elect Mull, and he's assured me that we're not going to have any problems with that. So I've shown you 7 days where 26 cases were overlooked and filed improperly. That amortizes out to another 400 or 500 cases that'll hit this court, put us up to 900 or 1,000, maybe more cases. I don't see at that number. Do we want to put 1,000 cases into that court and let that guy slip through the cracks, let that guy go out there and endanger the citizens of Jeffersonville?
I'll tell you this, Ken, and the numbers that I know, and I'm not for or against it. I'm just giving you the brass tacks numbers that I've got. When you say a couple of thousand cases or 1,500 cases, we've only got in Jeff City Court right now, I don't know where that number is, a little over 400 for this year. Is that right?
Yes. I mean,
So,
my
I
numbers
mean,
show like 480 maybe.
The other cases are already going over there.
Right.
So what you're talking about is putting 400 more over there.
Well, just adding that 500, we had a murder occur this year out of a misdemeanor court. I mean, that's something that we need to address.
You were talking about numbers. That's the only thing
Yes, sir.
that I'm going back to, is that those 1,000 cases, if you're basing that on 1,400 at a high, roughly, those cases are already over there, or somewhere.
Those 1,000 cases have gone somewhere.
They've gone somewhere. So what you're talking about is another 400 cases.
Well, by the end of the year, it'll be 500. Yes, sir, I agree. But
I agree.
ultimately, the extra 1,000 cases, caused a mishap this year that no one wants to happen again. I mean, the court that these cases are going to is the court where the gentleman that murdered that woman came from. So, I mean, and that happens. I can't control that, but certainly, if we can pull 1,000 cases out of that court, there's a chance that docket is easier to handle for the prosecutors, for the judge, for the staff, for the county. And when they're being released into this community, this city, it's something we need to address. So.
Good deal. Has anybody got any more
I
questions
don't,
for the judge?
No. I just want to make a comment, please.
Well, wait a minute, and see if we got any questions. Do you have any
I
questions?
don't have a question, no.
Okay. Anybody have any more questions for the judge while he's up here? Okay. Thanks, Judge. Good. Comments?
I just, I know I've been looking at this for 2 years now. I know myself, and I know I've traveled several times. I've taken this issue. I've talked with other council members in IAC situations. I know the clerk and I have gone to Indianapolis on several occasions, and at the bottom line, it's the same thing. When you show the numbers, and it's that everybody has the same look on their face, well, why? And I think that's the question that even the judge is asking, why? And, you know, the thing is, though, when you look at the number, at the end of the day, we have to justify the tax dollars to our constituents, to the taxpayers of Jeffersonville. And I don't know, with this being, this has to be introduced now. We have to make a decision. We can't project out the 4 years and sitting here thinking nobody's really made the argument how we can turn this around and make this better for the taxpayers. And I'm sorry, but that's the way I have to look at it, the bottom line for the taxpayers of the city of Jeffersonville. And I know it's a tough one, but I mean, I've tried 2 years now, in the past 6 months with you, Dennis, we've been talking to everybody we could think of, setting up meetings, and there's just no clear answers.
Yeah. And Mr. Lewis, this is for you. I know Ms. Minnick mentioned these things, and we've talked about these before because we knew that these different benefits different places, drug court, whatever. But if they go to a different court, they do, that's dictated by state code.
Yeah, the money's still collected because that's
Right.
part of your plea agreement or conviction.
And
that money will be collected.
And I know that,
And to say that technically city court gives that money to those local entities, technically it's not true because regardless of what court it's collected from, it actually is deposited in the Clark County auditor's office, which is just one fund. And then the Indiana Youth Coalition actually makes the determination how that money's spent up. And they actually come before the county council. The county council actually votes to appropriate that money to the entity.
Right.
So that list that she shows to the entities where that money's given, that's actually voted on by the county council. It comes from one pot of money.
Right. And so they,
What I took away from the comments, it may not be accurate, but I took away the collection rate from the city court was higher, and the concern is if it goes to the county, that the collection rate might not be as high. I'm not.
well,
That is correct, because even though we said that,
Ma'am,
it shows you the
I
documentation.
understand.
but the other issue that she brought up, which I was going to finish my comment, was that that the county courts don't collect it correctly or don't do something, but that's not the city's, that's not our issues. We can't make them do anything differently. So we have to do what's best for our taxpayers, and the money will be collected.
And she also mentioned the DARE program. I do know that our DARE program runs off a grant, and I know that we do have money within the budget that covers what don't, because I mean, I see it in the claims. Is that not correct, Amy? Do we not have a grant that covers our DARE program, the majority of our DARE program?
I think $8,000 comes from Jeff City Court.
No, there's not a grant.
No,
There's
it's coming to
not?
Jeff.
Through the youth coalition.
Through our money.
Well, it's a grant.
It's still a grant, yeah.
It's still a grant. A grant's a grant, right?
Right. So anyway.
Well, in the spirit of keeping things rolling, this is a two-step process. I'll make the motion to approve 2014 OR 57 on the first and second reading.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye. I abstain.
We'll need a roll call.
You want to do a roll call vote?
Sure.
Let me just say, I'm voting no, and that's because I don't have I'm at a comfort level as far as the costs we're talking about, so my vote's no.
Okay, Councilperson Sestavny.
No.
Councilperson Payne.
Yes.
Councilperson Sellers.
Yes.
Councilperson Julius.
Yes.
Councilperson Glover's abstaining.
She
You
passed.
skipped somebody.
You missed one.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, yes. Councilperson Owen.
Yes.
Councilperson Samuel.
No.
2, 3, 4, 5 yeses. 2 noes. One abstention.
Okay. Moving on, we got Amy. Number 8, Amy Deering. An ordinance of additional appropriation. I'm sorry?
Wait a minute.
We skipped
Bowling
Les.
Avenue.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did we skip one?
Yeah,
They've been sitting here.
My mistake.
number 5.
Les Merkley, public hearing on vacation and
What's this here? It's not my subpoena, the city court isn't. Okay.
you will get one tomorrow.
I probably will. One of those warrants will be signed. This is a petition to vacate a public way at Bowling Avenue. This is, and I'll turn over to Jack. Jack's representing the Serenity House, which for some reason this fell through the cracks years ago when this building was constructed. In fact, Vicki Conlon and I were discussing prior to the meeting. I even believe at some point this was even approved by the city council at one point, but it was never recorded. So we're just going to start over with the process to vacate a public Bowling Avenue, and I'll turn over to Jack, who represents the Serenity House.
Can I make one comment,
Sure.
Mr. Jack? Before it came on to Dan came over to me and looked, and I did look it up, and there was an ordinance passed in 2007 to vacate it. It was done by the council, but it was never recorded. So that's how.
Oh, so it's already been done.
Yeah. Serenity House is a it's a private group that's a public entity. LifeSpring supported them for a number of years. We gave them an apartment building in Clarksville. They rented it for $1 a year. Now they outgrew it, and they wanted to build a new recovery campus, which they have. They built it in the area, if you know where I-65, 62 come in, Stansford Avenue, coming up. It was kind of a no man's land. Half of it was Clarksville, half of it was Jeff. And in order to get the zoning and first responders lined up, you guys annexed it, Clarksville de-annexed it, and we brought it in. And the intent was to build the recovery campus there. We had actually a Saturday meeting. Mr. Perkins had some issues, about that, and we satisfied him, and we did a Saturday meeting. And I thought everything was done. They're now going out to borrow some money, and the new building that they're putting is going to sit right on top of Bowling Avenue. So we've got to get it vacated, or they can't complete the project. And that's what we're here to do.
And it's already, the building's already built over it, so I just make a motion that we go ahead and...
We're going to do a public hearing.
Oh, public hearing.
Is anybody, we're going to open a public hearing. Is there anybody here to speak for or against this matter? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing.
I make a motion to pass, what's the ordinance number?
58.
2014 OR 58
Second.
on the, do we need, this is just one time, right?
One reading.
Okay. Okay.
Second? Somebody did.
Zach seconded.
Aye.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you.
Thank you. Your office is fine. I believe you can get it done this time.
You got to get signed by the mayor first.
Yeah, we just want to make sure it's going to record.
Yes.
Amy Deering, now you're up. We'll let you do yours.
This is a new additional request. Should be the last one of the year due to the deadlines with the DLGF. I can go through each item if you'd like.
I don't have it. Oh, wait,
It's
I've
at the
got
very
it.
bottom. It's underneath the CF1, I think. The last one.
I'm gonna go home and take my vitamin C for you.
Boy,
breathing over here.
Amy, I have
This
a
ain't
question.
good.
I've stayed
Okay.
quiet as long as I can.
I know you
Lease
mean.
payment. Did
Yes.
we just not budget for that, or what happened?
What happened was the lease is $320,000 paid in January and June, but in the lease there was a $70,000 monies that were supposed to go in a reserve fund. We had netted that out of the 320 instead of paying that in addition to, so that is 3 years worth of catching that up. So no, we didn't budget for that.
So but that's 3 years
Oh, I
worth
don't
of
know.
reserve.
Reserve money for City Hall.
What did you say the fire was for? The fire, for repair and maintenance, what is that?
That was a request from Councilman Smith for an antique fire truck engine.
That's right, that's right.
And then one item that isn't on here, I was going to request, I'd send an email out, was our health insurance fund is getting quite low, and this is the last opportunity to fund that this year. So I was going to ask for $500,000
Out of the
out of the general fund.
Amy, did you say the fire repair and maintenance was coming out of the general fire budget for repair of an antique fire truck?
Yeah.
That's correct.
It's the one they have.
in the showroom at
Yeah.
the station too.
They were gonna
This
sell
was-
it. They sold an old truck.
They want to rebuild the engine.
They're
They can't,
buying
yeah.
a replacement engine so that it will run.
And these funds were brought in from a sale of some other capital that the fire department had also.
What I thought I heard, just making sure.
What's the first one, Amy? Property and casualty?
That was the
Bless you.
cash that's come in from insurance for the year. We're just appropriating the cash. That was a request made at a finance committee meeting.
So it'll be put in the property and casualty.
Yes. Yes. There's a premium that's coming due on January 4th, so that'll help us. We can encumber that.
Going after 58.
And then,
Motion to approve 2014 OR 59 on first and second reading.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
thank you.
Amy, I have a question. On this that we received, is this how much we have left
Is that it?
after our appropriations from the
You got
taxes that we
city
received in
council
October,
attorney.
November?
That's all of your agenda.
That's all the agenda.
I'm sorry.
We haven't received our settlement from the county.
Scott, do you have anything?
Oh, that's in December. Okay, great, thanks.
He's not listening to you.
Scott, none? Any department heads? None had signed up. Any public comment? Nobody had signed up for that, other than what we took earlier. Council comment?
No comment.
Mr. Payne? No comment. Ms. Sellers?
No comment.
Ms. Gill?
Whoop, I got comments.
I knew you would.
Well, I just wanted to remind everybody that there is a meeting to discuss the downtown parking and traffic flow, which is the Wednesday, November 19th, from the time is from 6:30 to 7:30 at the Preservation Station. I think that it'd be...
There's also a homeless meeting at the same time at the library. Again.
I just wanted to add, 'cause I didn't get to finish my thought on the DARE program. That's something that I think is a very effective program, and that's something that I would support and look at any ways necessary to make sure that that continues. So,
Can I make just one quick comment? Forgot to mention that there's going to be a grand reopening and a ribbon cutting for CAP gym.
right.
It's going to be at America's Place on Saturday, 10:30? 10:30, so.
Where's
So
it at,
actually,
Ed?
it's at America's Place, right here
Okay.
on Plank Road.
Okay.
Actually, the place where I work out, so
10:30?
10:30.
Wednesday.
It's 252, building 252.
To America Place. Is that all you had?
Please show up for a photo op and see a good business.
Is he going to make this work out?
That's all
No,
I
you don't have
had.
to work out.
Okay, because
Don't
that
have to
would have
work
been the
Glover.
bus
I don't have anything.
Congratulations to Councilman Payne and Councilman Glover on their elections. Hate to see you go, but wish you well in your future endeavors.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
There were several other issues brought up in tonight's discussion with City Court, and I took several notes, and hopefully we can address some of those points at our next meeting when we come up for a final reading on this. Appreciate the ability to keep the process going, regardless of what we decide in the end, yes or no. I think it's important to keep the process and keep the discussion going. So that's all.
No comment.
Mr. Simmons? Okay,
Because Brian has to drive. It's for you, Brian.
I just have one. A few of us went out and looked at the fire truck, the ladder truck, the older ladder truck that we have on reserve right now. It's a reserve truck. And we're going to send it to Indianapolis to get quite a bit of work done on it. But I do know that when the fire truck wrecked this summer, gosh, it was probably in the spring, but when that fire truck was wrecked, it was our newer ladder truck, which was going to be our backup ladder truck. And at the time, we had talked about purchasing 2 ladder trucks in a few years. And this truck we're going to send up and have quite a bit of work done. We don't know how much it's going to cost to do. I know Mr. Samuel, Ms. Gill, myself, Mr. Smith, we were up there, Councilman Smith, we were up there. And it could easily cost over $100,000 to retrofit this truck. But it'll make a good backup truck. But one thing that I've been looking at is on the fire truck payments that we have, we're really close on a couple of those payments. And if we can see our way through before the end of the year to pay 1 or 2 of those trucks off, I think we should do it. And then look at the possibility of buying, or maybe by the end of next year, because it'll take a year to get one of those trucks built the way that we want it. One of the things that we found out about this new ladder truck, they need it downtown. It's at Station 1's, but it won't fit in the door. It's too tall. So, I know.
Air out in the tires.
Yeah, they can let the air out of the tires. However, we're going to need to have a truck built to go to Station 1's. So that could easily take...
Is it cheaper to build a building?
I know.
It might
Could we
be.
just raise the, could we just?
I'm just making everybody aware of what's going on. So, one thing that we need to think about is, what's that?
Big carport.
Big carport.
Curbside.
We really, if we can see our way through to use some funds left over this year to pay off 1 or 2 of those trucks, it might give us a better vantage point to purchase another one, because this will be $1 million truck. So, food for thought, but that's all I have.
Motion to adjourn.